Hey everyone. This is going to be a more somber edition of Fat Guy Talks, so no wacky intro today. This is something I've been wanting to talk about for the last couple of days, and I think I finally am ready to to get all my thoughts out in the open. Some of you may know that a couple of weeks ago, on Monday the 14th of June, my grandmother Gloria passed away. She was 93 years old. She had been living with dementia for quite a while, and you know, if you've never had a loved one with dementia, I can tell you that a lot of times someone with dementia, they'll have good days and they'll have bad days. You know, you'll talk on the phone with them for a couple of minutes and come away wondering if they knew, or you know, if the person that you were talking to really knew who you were while you were talking to them. So it was not unexpected. She'd taken a turn for the worse last month, unfortunately, and by early June we knew she only had, you know, she was probably going to be gone by the end of the month. So, you know, in a way, it was almost cathartic, because I knew just how bad things had been for her for the last several years, and you know, it just she lived a long life too, but it doesn't make it any easier. So I actually had to take the first few days of the week off from work, and you know, my work has been very gracious about that, which I, you know, greatly appreciate. So, you know, she'd been in hospice care for a while, and you know, initially my brother and I had actually talked about going to visit her and my grandfather, because they live down in Texas, in Harlingen, or they lived down in Texas in Harlingen, which is not too far from the Mexican border, right by the Gulf, where they've been living down in that Gulf area for the last, gosh, probably longer than before I was born. But you know, in light of her condition getting worse, we decided to put it off for a bit. And the main thing would have been to really see our grandpa, because, you know, he had been dealing with this for the past several years, and it's basically it was just the two of them living together in the same, you know, retirement home for a while. You know, a lot of their friends had unfortunately passed away, and you know, our family, my side, the fish side of the family, is kind of spread out throughout the country. So, you know, my dad and his sister and my aunt would visit. You know, they would visit them from time to time, but it's, you know, not really the same as being able to walk a couple blocks over and pop in and say, "Hi, Grandma, Grandpa," you know. So, then the main thing after that was I wanted to, after my grandmother passed away, the main thing for me was, number one, to talk to my father, who was down in Texas at the time, and then to talk to my grandfather. And unfortunately, he was in hospice care as well at the time. He had issues with, I believe, his kidneys, if I remember correctly. And, you know, I had been anticipating my grandmother's death for a couple of weeks. It didn't make it easier, but you know, I knew to expect it. You know, I knew it was coming. And they say that couples who are married for a long time, and I've seen this, I know this to be true, in many cases, when one passes away, it's not long before the other one passes away, but, you know, usually it's like a couple of months, maybe even a year or so. On Friday, the 18th of June, I woke up and I saw that my grandfather had passed away as well. He was 90 years old. He and my grandmother had been married for 62 years. Within a week, I lost both my grandparents, and you know, it's the grief process is very, very complicated. You know, they say it's there's like 5 stages or whatever. You know, denial. I can't remember the other ones right now, but I can't remember the exact order of the other ones right now. I'll just be totally honest with you. I sometimes feel like I haven't been grieving the right way. I haven't cried. You know, it might sound unthinkable to a lot of people. But no, I haven't really cried. Immediately after I found out about my grandparents, both times it was distress, really. You know, I almost found it to be unbelievable. So there's been no tears, no rage, nothing like that. Just, you know, the thing about being so far away from them, from not seeing them a lot, it just the first few days after my grandma died, I kind of observed this. It was like, you know, I spent a lot of time at home, but I would, you know, go out to get food, or you know, I even went to a bonfire with some friends from work, and I just found, you know, as I was doing all of these things, it always felt like I was missing something. You know, not like I don't have my keys, I don't have my wallet or whatever. You know, it just felt like there was something missing in my life, but I couldn't see it right away, you know what I mean? And that just added to the stress even more. You know, everybody grieves differently. And even though there have been times where I've felt like I haven't been grieving properly, you know, Same time, I've tried to be mindful of cutting myself a little slack. One thing I came to this decision, by the end of the week, I decided I didn't want to have any regrets about, my time with my grandparents. Do I wish I would have seen them more? Absolutely. Do I wish that I could have talked to my grandfather before he passed away, after my grandmother passed away? I absolutely do. But if I let those regrets overwhelm my memories of my grandparents, it'll just haunt me even more. It'll just make things worse. So I've taken comfort in little things. I've taken comfort in the fact that I've been able to talk to my dad since then. The fact that I will see my dad in a couple of weeks from now for the first time since before the pandemic, I've taken comfort in that. I've taken comfort in remembering my grandparents, remembering things about my grandparents, remembering how my grandmother always insisted that she was allergic to wheat, with emphasis on the WH in wheat. Remembering how my grandfather, who was a principal and later a superintendent in his career, had a garage band named after him by some of the high school kids called Dick Fish. I can take comfort in the memory of the last time I actually saw them in person when I was 13 years old, and we went down to where they were living at the time, down in Port Isabel, Texas, and how gracious of hosts they were, how my grandfather would drive us to and from places without complaint, how my grandmother would happily cook for us, and, even in little things, I'll look at pictures of the Gulf, as the sun's setting. I'll remember, driving over the bridge at night with my grandpa as the moon was above the waters. Even right now, I'm sitting out here by the lake, even though it's a little, algae infested. Just seeing the sun sparkling off the waters even reminds me of my grandparents a little bit. It's those little things, hearing my last name, Fish, it's something that I will carry with me, and it'll always reflect that I was their grandson. It's just, you always try to look for these silver linings in everything, and I've learned this growing up with depression. Once you fully accept that the bad is never going to fully go away, that at the end of fairy tales, that's not how real life works. Once you come to accept that, but at the same time, once you come to accept that while simultaneously understanding that good things will happen in your life and that there are things to be thankful for, that's what's been making it easier for me. So, as far as the last 2 weeks go, I won't lie to you, it's been exhausting. I don't even know that I should be making this video. It's one of those little self-doubt things coming off of this situation, but you know, if I can pay tribute to my grandparents in any sort of way, this is the very least I can do. Thank you to everybody who's reached out. Thank you everyone who watches this. You know, I hit 50 subscribers during that week, and that was another instance where I thought I shouldn't even be making this video, you know. But I wanted to express my gratitude. You know, I wanted to put out more good into the world, even though there was so much negativity in my world at the time. You know, you hope that the two will kind of counteract each other. So, thank you everyone for watching. It means a lot to me to be able to share my thoughts, share my memories. My grandparents were wonderful people, very giving people. I might not have seen them as much as I liked. You know, I didn't always feel as close to them as most people probably do their grandparents, but I know that I loved them and that they loved me. And at the end of the day, they were family. They'll continue to be family, and I hope I made them proud. So, thank you for watching, everyone. I promise the next several videos will be a lot more lighthearted in nature, because that's the name of the game here at Fat Guy Does Things. So thank you for watching this very special edition of Fat Guy Talks, and have a good day. Let your loved ones know that they are loved.